now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Rev Nathaniel W Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
Good afternoon. My name is Gloria Martin, and I'm sitting in for the Right Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin, who's not able to be with us this afternoon. He's out of town, so I'm sitting in for him. And It's Time is the title of this program. And you ask, what is it time for? It's time for justice. Justice is not just a marble statue with a blindfold on it. Justice is a moral and rightness based on ethics and rationale and equity and fairness. We have an in-house guest this afternoon, Jeff Logan, who's no stranger to It's Time. He's been with us several times, and we do appreciate him. But before we hear his thoughts on reparation and other issues that are going on in the world today, our marching orders comes from Deuteronomy 15, starting with verse 12. And if my brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve 6 years, then in the 7th year you shall let him go free. And when you send him out, you shall not let him go away empty. You shall furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy out of thy winepress, of which the Lord thy God has blessed thee with. You shall give him then. I guess the pandemic thing that's going on now is the coronavirus. And so we're going to get some insight from Brother Jeff about the coronavirus and its effects on us here in Los Angeles. We know you can't go to the market now. All the shelves are empty. It's just running rampant. As a matter of fact, I understand today President Trump decided to shut the nation down at 3:00, I believe. So I'm not exactly sure what all is happening here in Los Angeles, but it's a lot going on and people are panicking. And I don't know if it's necessary. You just kind of wonder what's real and what's not real. And some of us who are going to the market, you're going to the market just for the day's groceries, and you go in and you see all the shelves that are empty and what have you, and it just kind of makes you overbuy. Because, you don't, when you get ready to go to the store, you really want something to be there, so you kind of stock up. So, Brother Jeff, you want to shed some light on that for us?
Yeah, no problem, man. I want to thank you for having me, Ms. Martin. Thank you, Nathaniel Martin, as well, for having me. Now, the coronavirus, from the information that I've gotten and seen, I think it's interesting about the coronavirus because where it started it started on the continent of Asia. And somehow made its way to Nigeria. And when it got there, it seemed to affect non-Black people. I think that's pretty interesting in itself. And then it made its way here to the U.S., where we see on the news recently that Tom Hanks and his wife have now came out and said that they are infected with the coronavirus as well as their son, Chet. Chet, I forget his last name, or Chet, whatever, but their son is the one who got online and told us that his parents have it. However, I think it's interesting that it is harming basically non-melanated people the most. There's a few cases that we've seen that there's a few Black people that got it around the world, but we know that they are now testing negative for it. So we have to ask.
Well, have you heard of any Black people here in California with the virus? Or is it just overseas that the Black persons that you're speaking of had it?
Yeah, I haven't heard of anybody in the U.S. I think they said something about an NBA player, a Black NBA player, possibly allegedly having it. There's no confirmation on that, but for the most part, you see places like Italy having it, it's going rampant in Italy. And then you also see places kind of all over where there's concentrated on Caucasian people. It seems that it jumped from Asian people to Caucasian people, and it kind of skipped black people. I don't know how that happened, but I think it's interesting.
They also, children are less likely to get it, from what I understand on the news. They said children were less likely to get it too, but they've closed all the schools for 2 weeks.
And that's also interesting because if you see the cases of the people that got it, mostly they're kind of older in age. There's nobody that's young really getting it like that. And
they have some other underlying health issues.
Right.
Medical issues.
Yeah, some kind of immune system problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, to a lot where they can attract it and they can't really fight it off.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So you think it's overdone?
Well, I think it is dangerous. I think it's very, very dangerous because it is killing people. People are dying from it. It's just interesting that it's not really kind of, harming black people. And I think the reason why is because black people, we've been here before, long before anybody has. Mm-hmm. And so over, the centuries, we've been able to adapt to everything from, malaria. They said we had malaria. We were able to fight that off. And many other diseases and viruses that come our way, we're able to fight them off for some reason. So this may be another case like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. I know they said 30 days before, and that kind of confuses me a little bit too, because it's not, if it can't go away in 30 days. It's still like, I guess maybe they get it under control or something of that sort. I'm assuming that that's what happens with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, switch reels. The election.
Oh, okay.
The 2020 election that's coming up, local and the national. I'm really more interested in what happens in the local elections, because those are the laws or the people who get in to make the laws that affect my lifestyle.
Right.
So what is your take on that, especially the DA?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That position.
Prosecuting us. Yeah, so I think what we need to be heavily involved in local elections, only because what we see is people that's getting elected aren't doing anything for black people. They aren't punishing these race soldiers that are out here, shooting us unarmed black people left to right. There's no kind of economic help with black people. And so the first thing we want to do is get with somebody that has our agenda, has the black agenda. Mm-hmm. Now, what's our agenda? What's the black agenda? The black agenda is an economic base, a check, tangibles, things that are not only owed, but they're due to black people simply because we're citizens. We're citizens in this nation, so we're off top, we're due basic resources that we're just denied on a daily. Mm-hmm. So that would be the first thing. So we would need to ask these politicians if they're going to run locally, what are they going to do for black people in that specific area? And once they indicate that they're on the team, we need to ride for them. We need to go ahead and campaign for them. We need to get the black churches to pull money so we can actually put our money behind them, because that's how they respond. But if they indicate that they are not going to go through with our agenda, we need to move them to the side and find somebody else that will. So that is first, is finding somebody that will push our agenda.
Your phrase that you just, what is our agenda?
The black agenda is tangibles, things that black people are due, basic resources that we can do to uplift ourselves that we were deprived of. There's black people in this country that built this country, that everything was built off of, and are somehow deprived of the resources. But yet you allow all these different races of immigrants to come over here and reap the benefits of what we built, while simultaneously denying us basic resources and basic benefits that the citizens of the land should have, and we should demand.
So we should be demanding justice as it relates to environment, housing, health, especially health. You go to the emergency room and you really can't, I don't know exactly how to word it. It's overflowing with other ethnic groups, and they don't come by themselves. They come when one person gets, the whole family comes and what have you. So we end up sitting in the emergency room for God knows only how long and what have you. I don't think that I don't want them to be denied of anything either. But then by the same token, I don't want to be denied of anything. And I tell you, there was an incident with one of the members of National Action Network, which I'm a part of, in Long Beach, the Panorama School. There was, I think, in 1 week, there were 5 black children who had been jumped on by 10 Hispanics. And the parents decided to, because the administrators were not responding in a way that they thought that they should, so they opted to take their children out of school. And they were told that if they took the children out of school, that they were going to fail them. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this? We say people of color, and I don't know what that really entails, because when you say that, it kind of loops the black with the Hispanics with the Asians, anybody who's not white. Right. It's people of color. So then you have the schools that are 99% Hispanic, and the few black children that are in there are being mistreated by these the Hispanic children, but nothing's being done. So what is your feeling on that?
Well, I think not a lot of black people. Too many black people are scared to be black, are scared to do business with black people, go to school with black people, shop with black people, give black people your dollars, do trade with black people, trust black people. And that right there is a problem in itself, because what happens is we end up running to the dominant society for some type of pat on the head, some type of approval. We want to that integration kind of thing. And so if you look at black people, you look at the older black people are more worried about health care. Yeah, that's the main thing. But we also got to look at who's going to carry black folks forward. And who is that going to be? It's not going to be the older folks. Right. It's going to be the younger folks. So what do they need? They need more than anything. They need, first of all, they need protection. White families, they teach their kids to, go take what you want. You make sure you learn how to shoot a gun right away. A lot of times we get in a position to where we're scared to teach our boys and our girls to shoot guns. We should be able to teach them with no problem to protect themselves and practice their Second Amendment right, because they're citizens in this country, so they'll do that. And we see that who's being punished the most for, we're not even doing half of the crimes that they say we're doing, but we're punished overly. We're given, draconian laws, draconian sentences. We're at the bottom of the totem pole. So we need something to protect ourselves. So we need to have these black church teaching these kids to protect yourself responsibly. Because what happens is when you leave yourself open and you'll keep praying, and then who's going to walk in your church? Dylan Roof. And if you have nothing for him, it's going to be you or him.
So you're advocating guns?
Well, I'm not gun violence. I'm advocating for black folks to be able to, those who can, practice your Second Amendment right. Which means you get certified to carry, you make sure you can conceal carry, or whatever you have to do, get the right paperwork. But
so you're not in favor of gun control?
Well, that's a trick question, because what guns are we controlling? Are we controlling the white guns? Because those guns ain't going to be touched. So why is the gun control only going to control the black man's gun? So we just basically need things that are going to protect us, okay? Even Martin Luther King, there was a group of black people that marched with Martin Luther King that protect him. They protected him. They were nonviolent, but they were ready in case somebody shot at them. They could at least protect themselves. And that's what the black church is lacking in terms of teaching the young kids. And then when we see the young kids get shot in the streets, we're like, oh, let's another car wash, or another this, another that. When they could have just protected themselves, or they would have been confident enough to stand up and maybe run somebody off just by saying, look, man, you don't want to mess with me at this time.
Yeah, but the consequences that they have to pay for making those decisions is just astronomical. I mean, it's nothing good can come of that, because we know, because it's us doing it, what's going to happen with that. they're going to get killed or go to jail for some undeterminable time and what have you. So I don't see how that really can fix the problem.
No, I understand. I understand completely what you're saying, but open your eyes. We're already being killed, aren't we?
Yes,
left to right. We're being even executed openly. Nate Woods. You heard about Nate Woods?
No, I'm not familiar.
Nate Woods was just executed by the governor of Alabama just by simply being in the vicinity of somebody who ended up shooting a few police officers. Now, Nate Woods surrendered before that even happened, so he gave himself up, which means the police took him into custody and took him to jail. And the other guy is the one who shot after Nate gave himself up. The other guy shot a couple of police officers. So they charged Nate with the same crime as the other guy. And they executed him, an innocent man, after letting himself go, an innocent black man. And it's something that they do with black men all the time that they never really do with white men.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So what mechanism would you prefer that we use to protect ourselves if you had it your way?
I don't have a solution to the problem. I just know it's a problem. I don't have a solution. So they say if you don't have a solution, you're just complaining.
No.
I guess that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yes.
This program is about reparations. So let's get on that. The pros and cons of reparation.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And that brings us to reparations. And that's exactly why we need reparations. We need black folks, we need the money that's owed to us to be able to protect ourselves from this. Because maybe we don't have to get violent. Maybe we can just get something where we can block off ourselves, some kind of barricade or something. We're not going to hide, though. That's one thing we need to get about our blood. We need to get out running away from the problem and not confronting white supremacy. Mm-hmm. So, but by confronting them and telling them and demanding exactly what we want, we're going to break them and make them give us reparations. And Dr. John Henry Clark said power isn't given, it's taken. So they won't just give us the reparations that they owe. We have to make them give it to us. And how do we do that? We denied them the White House like we keep doing. We denied Kamala Harris. When she said, you think I'm going to do something specifically for black people? No. Right there, you threw out your presidential candidate. You threw out everything there. Cory Booker, he tried to beat around the bush. He didn't want to, talk about reparations. He was just talking about things that help immigrants and LBGT, none of which is specific with black people. So you're gone. He ended up dropping out. Elizabeth Warren, when asked, someone ran up to her and asked her, Elizabeth Warren, are you going to cut the check for foundational black Americans? She's going to say, check for what? So that was her response. You're gone. And now you see what happened with her. Andrew Yang ain't the thing, by the way. He's not the thing. So he believes that he's Caucasian himself. The Caucasian race, their numbers is dwindling. And Andrew Yang talked about it himself. And he said something about we or us, which means he basically said it was him as well. That's numbers dwindling when we see him as Asian, clearly. And then you got Bernie Sanders, who I understand Mr. Martin, Reverend Martin, was hoping that he can get that universal health care passed through. But I would ask him, how does that help the young black people who don't necessarily have any health issues or problems and just want to live? What does that do for them? So I think we got to look at what's going on with them. How do we protect them and passing the torch to them? And I think it starts with first families passing down wealth. So we know how to deal with money. So when we do get our reparations, we know what to do with it. We don't squander it and give it right back.
So between Sanders and Biden, I didn't hear you say anything.
Oh, that's right. Going to Joe Biden, 94. He wrote the 94 crime bill. Yeah. So Joe Biden basically set it up for Nate Woods to be executed. Because the law was, I guess, when they have these laws that they put on black people. If you're with somebody that's committing a crime, you're charged too. They never charge white folks with that. It's the lone wolf with the white guys all the time, or the mentally ill. But with the black folks, one person, shoot in the air, they're gaffling up everybody. And so that's what happened with Nate Woods, but it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for that 94 crime bill that Bernie Sanders voted for. So, and then moving on to Mike Bloomberg. Now, Mike Bloomberg spent over $500 million in advertisement and failed. Now, how did he fail? He failed because he is the one who implemented the stop and frisk policy, which detrimented black folks on the East Coast terribly, where you just throw the Constitution out the door and you run up to people and you stop and frisk them whenever, however. That was happening to black folks. And although we're only a 1/7 of the U.S. population, this stuff is happening to us constantly.
But we're down to Sanders and Biden, and it really looks like Biden is going to be the Democratic nominee.
Biden is going to be the Democratic candidate to nominee, but he's still going to lose to Trump. I mean, because here's the problem. You're not incentivizing the young people enough to go out and vote for you, to make sure that you get all the way through. So you're going to make it through the primaries or halfway through, but you're not going to make it all the way there without the black vote. Who's the black vote? The same people that got Obama in 2008 when they ran and when black folks came out in droves, young black folks came out in droves and made sure he got in. Now, we could have did that for any of these candidates had they broke down and promised with our black agenda, with our tangibles. Any of them.
So how do we encourage the young people to get out and vote? What do we do? What is our responsibility to them to get them to realize the importance of their voting?
Okay, yeah, they need to be incentivized. So they need to be told, well, you don't vote blindly. So you when you tell them to vote, you don't want to leave out what they're voting for. Because if you leave that out, with young people, we're like, I might as well stand in a circle or stand up and turn around in a circle and just keep doing that because I'm not getting anything out of this vote. Other groups demand something specifically and they get it. So if we're not going to get what we supposed to get on this with this election, we need to pull back. We don't want to vote in the national election. We want to vote locally, but the only way we can vote locally is if we have somebody that is down with our tangibles.
But if we don't vote, then the opposition is bound to get in.
What's the opposition done for black people differently than Obama?
Okay, yeah, you have a point.
And that's what black people, they're trying to make Trump the boogeyman, but
oh, well, I don't necessarily think that.
We've been here with this boogeyman for hundreds of years.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
What's the difference? So until something is written directly for us, broken down, say, hey, black people, this is what we're going to do. We're going to cut the check. We're going to cut it this date. Give us a date. We're going to do it through the IRS. This is how much you're going to get. You're going to get it monthly or you're going to get it annually. Break it down. Make it simple. And like you did for everybody else when they receive reparations, the Japanese and the Israel and everybody else, all the other groups who didn't build this country.
So how do we show them that we're serious about this and write the piece that lets them know, okay, this is what has to be done? I mean, I'm saying I'm not wording this quite right, but I think what I'm trying to say is that what can we say to the government to make them decide this is what we're going to do?
If you don't break bread, cut the check, come with these tangibles, you will not have our vote, and we will make sure that we just live our life like it's been lived. And so we're just going to withdraw from it, which means we've now delegitimized the Democratic Party. We've shown, hey, these people, they can't make it to the White House without these black people. And so people are going to ask, why can't you guys make it to the to the White House? And they got to answer it. The answer is because these black people are not happy with this stop and frisk, Mike Bloomberg. That's why you can spend $500 million and still lose. You know what I mean? So
go ahead.
You're what you don't want to do is get young people into voting for the lesser of two evils. Dick Gregory said, if you vote for the lesser of two evils, that's because you evil.
Okay, so if the opposition gets in, I still don't see how our not voting is gonna help us. I'm really confused on that.
Right. What that's going to send, the message that's going to send is that there will never be another Democratic president as long as you keep ignoring our tangibles, incentivizing them later eventually to break our bread if they want to win. Otherwise, what happens? people start to realize that the election is a fraud, the presidential candidates are illegitimate. What happens when you deem something illegitimate? You can do whatever you want to it. You can destroy it. It doesn't exist. You don't have to listen to it. You don't have to move by it. Black folks can construct their own.
Well, that's my fear about with Trump getting back in a second time is that is that the way that he's doing this, when he gets, because even if he gets a second term, the next president that comes in is going to feel that they can do the same thing that he's doing. I mean, he's not followed any rules. I mean,
well, let's take.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry about that.
Right,
so, I mean, what was different from Obama? I mean, the numbers show more black people died under Obama than the 40s, 50s, and 60s combined. So are we just going to ignore that and say Trump because he's outwards with his racism, which I respect? I actually respect open racism because you ain't going to play me like Hillary Clinton and say, hey, we're friends, and then stabbing you in the back. He's telling you who he is right away. We know exactly who he is. We've seen him for the last 4 years. Nothing changed with us anyway. So, I mean, what is the big deal? We're not ever endorsing Trump because Trump is a bigot and a racist. But why would we endorse the left hand of white supremacy? Trump is the right hand, and the Democratic Party is the left hand. Until somebody comes with our tangibles, we are just going to disengage and continue to politic with each other. And speaking of that, I know we're short on time here, so I did want to mention too, the Foundational Black American Conference is coming up Juneteenth. That weekend is June 20th. It's going to be in Atlanta. Tariq Nasheed is hosting it. There are going to be a panel of speakers, and we're going to be going over a lot of good things. Black doctors. We're going to be talking to black lawyers. Just a connection of black, thorough people, non-turncoat, non-traitorous people that actually want the best for other black people. So we're going to be networking big time. You know what I mean? Getting information on how we can build together and so on and so forth. And I think that's what we should focus on, entrepreneurship, building together, so that way we know what to do with the reparations that we're going to get.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I like the fact that you're positive about we are going to get. You didn't say if.
No, yeah, there's no if. There is no if, ands, or buts. Yeah. Okay,
well, it looks like our time is pretty much up. I want to thank you so much for coming out and sharing with us. Okay. And as Rev Martin says, if they don't want to pay you, don't work for it.
Don't work for them, and I agree 100%. Yeah, that's slavery.
It's been informative. There was other things that I wish we could have covered. And I'm sure Reverend Martin will have you back and what have you. But thank you so much for sharing.
No problem.
I don't agree with everything you said, but I understood it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's just all about, black men exhibiting manhood now. Yeah. You know what I mean? I get a lot of information from, I mentioned the people that I got my information from before, but I get it from Joe Brown, Dr. Randy Short, Tariq, Jason Black,
Professor Black. I just have a problem with that gun thing. Because I know if we get out there and start shooting, it's not like it's just going to go, it's going to be done. It's not over. They're going to shoot us back. And if they don't shoot them, the young ones, that's what the ones I'm speaking of, they're going to go to jail and they're going to spend what they should be maybe 5 years, they're going to get 25 years for. So I don't see how the guns and the shooting is really going to help us through this, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, well,
we don't have a crystal ball.
I totally understand what you're saying on that, but what I would do, just a minor correction, not shooting them first. It's just for defending.
But even in
so let's keep it in that context.
But even in defending yourself, that's not how the law has looked at it in the past. Even
right.
I mean, so I don't see anything changing. I don't see much has changed.
Yep, and that's why we got to work together and make a change.
I just don't want them going out there with some guns talking about defending themselves and end up, themselves dead or in jail.
That's where discipline comes in.
Well, that's true.
You don't give a gun to non-disciplined people.
Well, the ones you think are disciplined sometimes are not the ones who are. You know what I mean? Because some people know how to work the system now. They can,
you don't see black folks walking into churches, restaurants, and stores shooting up people either.
some sleepless nights.
Yeah, but as you said,
But when I look around,
Exactly. So I'm just saying defend yourself. I ain't saying go kill nobody. Don't. I didn't say that at all. But just defend yourself.
I appreciate you. So
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Outweigh my bad days, yes they do. Outweigh my bad days. I just say thank you, Lord.